Hey, welcome back to Susan Lynn, Psychic Medium. Thanks for joining me today. I want to say a really big shout out to all the new subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you that came over from Sheila's Celtic Tarot. I really appreciate that. You guys are fantastic. And obviously, all you whimsy people, you know I'm a fan of both of those channels. So hey, welcome aboard. This is a little bit different channel, as if you couldn't tell by now, where we talk about bull balls. But anyway, today we're going to talk about something really interesting. We're going to talk about a penchant that I have when I am cooking, and I don't cook all the time, but I do cook several times a week, and I have a lot of recipes from people that were close to me that have crossed over. I have recipes from dear friends. I have recipes from aunts, just people that have passed down recipes. And when I cook them, those people on the other side have things to say. And I'll tell you some of the things that they say. I call it cooking with dead people. Okay, so typically I forget that I talk to ghosts. You know what I mean? I don't spend my whole day talking to ghosts because frankly, I literally try to block most of them. But I want to tell you some of the things that I have written down over the past month, and one or two things that were older, that these various people on the other side have commented to me when I'm cooking their recipe. So basically, I'm not just cooking anything, I'm cooking their recipe. And they are picky about their recipe. So here we go. Are you guys ready? Because they're funny as usual. Here's one of the things that was said to me yesterday when I was making this stew called mulligatawny stew. And I have a very dear friend who gave me the recipe probably about 25 years ago. And it's a fantastic recipe. Actually, I could share some of these recipes with you if you like. It is not vegetarian. It does have chicken in it. So anyway, she pipes in and says to me yesterday, as I'm chopping an onion for the recipe, she says, if you have to ask what kind of onion you should use, you shouldn't be cooking my recipe. So I was chopping up this onion, and it was a white onion. And I vaguely know that white's good for one thing, yellow's good for another thing, and red's good for another thing. But except for like red, I mean, yellow and white is like interchangeable to me. But I was chopping it and I was crying. And I was thinking, I wonder if I'm supposed to use a white onion or a yellow onion. And that's when she pops in and says, if you have to ask, you shouldn't be making my recipe. I still don't know. She never told me. She left in a huff. So that's another thing that they did was, I'm cooking this recipe. It's a different recipe and different person, and I hear, you're missing an ingredient. You're missing an ingredient. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not missing an ingredient. I have all the ingredients. I looked at the recipe. I look at the recipe. I'm scanning. I'm like, no, I have all the ingredients. I'm good. I don't know what you're talking about. Why do I argue? Why? So 3 steps into this recipe, I realize, and I'm on the last step, and it's like almost too late to go back. And I finally realize, she shows me the ingredient that I'm missing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm missing an ingredient. So I go running around the kitchen trying to find the ingredient to put it in before it was too late. And I made it. So the recipe came out okay, thanks to her. So I do appreciate these things. This happened yesterday too. The same thing with the mulligatawny. Over Christmas, I had gotten unsalted butter because a lot of times you bake with unsalted butter. And as far as I can tell, that's the only time you use unsalted butter is when you're baking. But I had this unsalted butter in the refrigerator. And as you remember, not too long ago, we had a deep freeze in Texas. And the stores just don't have everything. They don't have a lot of things. It's just kind of hit and miss. You get what you get, So I didn't think that I had butter. This recipe calls for 5 tablespoons of butter. 5 tablespoons of butter. So I didn't think I had it. And I was going to put unsalted butter in there. And then I hear, don't even think of using unsalted butter in this recipe. So I guess I won't be using unsalted butter. Sure enough, I had just enough butter left to put in the dish, and it did turn out really well. Thank you, Anne. And Anne is from New South Wales, Australia. So any Australians out there, Anne is my Australian connection on the other side. I was going to make a pie this last Christmas for a friend, for his Christmas present, because he doesn't want anything. He lives very minimally. And his mother is on the other side, and she visits me sometimes. I smell cigarette smoke. That's typically when I know that Ruth is nearby. I smell cigarette smoke. So she visits oddly, weird times. I'll just smell cigarette smoke. So, and I do have people on the other side in my family that smoked, but I kind of can tune in and I know that it's Ruth. So I was going to make him a pie. I'm in the, this reminds me of another story. No, it's the same story. That's right. So see, she's helping me tell me the story right now. Thanks, Ruth. That's awesome. Appreciate it. I was in the grocery store. This was the time before last. I was in the grocery store and what he likes are those chocolate pudding pies where you just make pudding and you pour it in the pie. Super easy. You pour it in the pie crust. So I'm in the store and I'm going to buy the pre-made pie crust. This was the Christmas before. And I go to grab the pie crust, and you know me, I'm like, well, deeper's got to be better. You know what I mean? That means more good stuff in there. So I've got the deep, extra deep, pre-made pie crust in my hand. And I hear her say, no, not that one. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, why not? It's a pie crust. You know what I mean? She's like, get the shallow one. So I look over, and here's the shallow one that looks so pathetic compared to the deep one. Think about that much chocolate pudding pie versus this much. Anyway, she's like, get the deep one. Get the shallow one. Put the deep one back. So I get the shallow one. I come back to the house. I look at the recipe, her little recipe, and sure enough, it says use the shallow one. The deep one wouldn't set, right? That much pudding, I don't think, would set in the pie crust. I'm just telling you, that's what she said. So fast forward to this last Christmas, and she told me I could make the pie dough from scratch. And I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? Do you know who you're talking to? Last year we bought a pre-made pie crust and it came out fine. She's like, you can do it. I'll help you. So on a whim, I decided to try it. So I got out all the ingredients. I had the ingredients. I had the flour and the butter or lard. I think she wanted me to use lard. I'm like, I got a lard? What's lard? We don't use Crisco anymore. Anyway, she gave me all these tips about cold water and doing something with the dough. And basically, I made the pie dough with her. She walked me through it step by step by step. And I put it all together and it was awesome. The pie crust was flaky. It didn't fall apart. It was really good. I was really surprised. Now, I wish I had written it down, or something. But it was amazing. So she helped me make that. Of course, it's for her son. She'd do anything for him. So, not that he's the favorite or anything, but he is. So anyway, let's see. Here's another one. Really, I'm salting. I'm putting salt. The recipe calls for salt. So I'm using salt table salt, basically. Okay, I just grab the table salt, I measure it in the measuring spoon, and I hear this voice say, you have better salt than that in the cupboard. You need to get it. And I'm like, really? Isn't salt the same? Obviously not. She preferred the salt that I had in the cupboard that I think was kosher salt or sea salt. I don't know what it was, but she's like, you have better salt than that. As I've got the measuring spoon, that's what I hear. So I just throw it back in the thing and go get the good salt. This happened yesterday. These people are hilarious, you guys. I'm not kidding. I thought, again, mistakenly, when I was cooking the chicken for the mulligatawny, I thought I want to season the chicken. I just want to add some seasoning to it because I know mulligatawny has a ton of spices in it. It's got garam masala and curry, and it's got everything in there, and it's very flavorful. But for whatever reason, I wanted to salt the chicken before I put it in the mulligatawny stew. So I was putting salt, and then I was going to put pepper on it. And I had the wrong pepper. The pepper thing that I bought has great big holes. So a little bitty shake and your food is covered in pepper. So I hear this, as I pick up the pepper, I hear this, "Easy on the pepper, Tiger." What? Calling me Tiger? Easy on the pepper, Tiger. I'm telling you, people are crazy. Just two more things, guys. Oh gosh. Yesterday, once again, I'm telling you, Anne from New South Wales, she was killing it yesterday. I like to clean as I'm cooking. So if I dirty something, I like to clean it while something is cooking and then put it up. This has caused me problems in the past because sometimes I clean it and put it up before I'm even done with it, but I don't care because I like to have a clean kitchen. So I'm over here cleaning the knife that I'd cut the chicken with when I hear this. You can clean that knife afterwards. You need to mind the butter doesn't burn. And I was, and I'm like, you know what? I did burn the butter one time. They told me the butter is burning. And I was like, no, it's not. And then I can smell it. I'm like, the butter's burning. So very helpful, right? I mean, I thought, that's helpful. You're right. I need to just put this to the side and I can clean it when it's simmering. Right now I've got like delicate things happening, like burning butter. And then this also happened yesterday. I swear Anne was on it yesterday. She said, I have this knife. It's a big chopping knife that I was chopping the onions with. And the onions weren't chopping. I just didn't feel like I was, it was not cleanly chopping through the onions. And I was wondering to myself, I thought I was having this conversation with myself, but this is the problem with people that have crossed over. They're in there too. So I thought to myself, gosh, this knife needs to be sharpened, and it's only like a year old, and how quick they get dull. This knife used to be super sharp, This is what I was thinking. And then I hear, you think that knife is not sharp? Give it a test. It will cut you. It'll cut you. It's plenty sharp. That onion you're trying to cut is like shoe leather. She said, why on earth are you still using it? That should have been thrown out days ago. I'm like, well, because we had a big freeze and we need to keep everything we have. We can't go to the grocery store. But anyway, isn't that hilarious? She's like, you think that knife isn't sharp? Go ahead and test it. See what happens. You're going to be sorry. So anyway, this is me cooking with dead people, right? So they come in your head, they know what you're doing, they comment whether you want them or not. It's like I mentioned before, I'm an introvert. People are supposed to text before they come over, but no, they just pop in. But I'm grateful because honestly, they've saved my butt in the kitchen so many times. My Aunt Holly is the worst. She makes fun of me the whole time I'm cooking. She was actually had Italian roots, and I make this Italian casserole of hers, and it makes me laugh every time I think about it because she's hilarious. She was the kind of woman that could prod you, make you laugh, tease you, and get away with all of that. She could really give you a lot of grief, but make you laugh at the same time. So I'm grateful that I have these people on the other side. Maybe this happens to you, right? When you're cooking, you finally, you get a note, you get a message or a thought that says, oh, right, I always use eggs. I forgot, I need to get an egg. Or, oh, I better go ahead and put the pasta on because if I don't, this is going to be done. These thoughts that we have a lot of times are actually from crossed over loved ones and or your guides. We think they're thoughts. We just think they're us. We think they're us being brilliant, but it's not us being brilliant. It's them helping us be brilliant. So next time you're cooking something, especially a recipe from a loved one on the other side, check it out and see if they help you out. Ask them to help you do the recipe, especially if it's a recipe that's old and, their handwriting's all scratchety and you're like, what does that say? That's when I'm like, okay, what is this word? What does this word mean? Because I can't read your handwriting anymore, whatever. So ask them to help you. Ask them to help you from the other side while you're cooking. Same thing, you guys. You can use the same thing. Honestly, I call on my brother when I'm putting things together because he was really good at that. He had no patience to help me do it, but he was really good at it. And so I call on my various family members to help me do things that I feel like they would be good at helping me do. There's a really good story that I've told before about how my dad, who's crossed over, helped me buy a house for well under half the value because he was really a penny pincher. He was really, really a penny pincher. I mean, really, really, really a penny pincher. And I was trying to buy a house somewhere in another part of town that had a bigger lot, that blah, blah, blah. And I didn't really like the style of the house, but I liked the bigger lot and I liked the location. So I'm trying to buy this house and the deal keeps falling through. Meanwhile, my dad keeps showing me this house that's for sale in a different part of town. And he keeps showing me his truck. He had a red truck before he passed. And he shows me the truck pulling into the garage. And I'm like, all right. I'll go check it out. So I pull up to this house and I'm thinking, it's smaller than I wanted. The yard is definitely smaller than I wanted. It's cute, but I don't know. And then I literally, even though the price, you guys, was literally, it was insanely cheap. It was listed sort of, it's a long story, but it was insanely cheap. And so I finally, after the deal falls through for the second time on the other house, this is a few days that go by, I finally call the guy selling the house. He was an investor who had bought it cheap. He was just going to literally buy it 3 days later, put it on the market and sell it as is, do nothing to it. And he made $20,000 just doing that because that's how cheap this house was. So I call him and I say, I'm interested in the house. He's like, yeah, I've got 5 contracts already. And I'm like, okay. Because remember, I'm like, I don't know that I really want this house. And I had cash because my dad's inheritance. It wasn't a lot of money, guys. It was not a lot of money. But it was enough to cover the price of this house, which was very cheap. So he's like, oh, you have cash? Nobody else has cash. What? Well, let's talk. So I end up getting this house for just, to this day, nobody can believe that I got this house for this amount of money. It's what I call a God deal, right? Why it wasn't bought in 24 hours. Why didn't anybody else have cash? It was not a lot of money. Anybody could have had cash to buy this house. Why? Well, because my dad was trying to help me and Spirit was trying to help me, and they did. They all helped me, but I had to help myself. It's a very good point. I had to help myself. I had to stop chasing this other house and buy the house that was the good deal. I renovated that house. I lived in it for 1.5 years, and then I sold it, and I made double the price that I renovated it for. Thank you, Dad. I appreciate it. So your crossed over loved ones can help you. All you got to do is ask for the help, listen to the help. For instance, when I saw my dad's vehicle, his truck, go into the garage, it was a dream. I had a dream that my dad's truck went in a garage. And I'm like, what garage is that? I don't know that garage. Well, guess what? When I went to look at the house, that's the garage. So I'm sure, I am positive that you guys have the same stories. I'm positive. Every time I talk to people, they tell me the same stories. You have it too. All you have to do is act on it, is ask for the help, listen, watch for the help, and then act on the help. We wasted another 18 minutes and 53 seconds together. Thank you guys so much for being with me. I appreciate it. I do political videos. I do videos on ghosts, videos on mediumship, videos on spirituality. Please subscribe. Join our community. They're really cool people, I promise. And subscribing is free. So hopefully you'll join us over here. You guys take care. We will talk soon. Everybody, bye.